Google is coming for ChatGPT. And honestly, this time they might actually win. Welcome to this explainer, where we're breaking down a pretty dramatic reversal in the AI landscape. We're talking about a massive shift from an absolute ChatGPT monopoly to a fierce structural duopoly between two incredibly powerful tech titans. So if you thought the AI war was already decided and the dust had settled, well, you're going to want to hear this. To really grasp why this shift is such a massive deal, we have to look back at just how absolute OpenAI's dominance was recently. I mean, by early 2025, ChatGPT commanded a staggering 87% of all AI chatbot web traffic. 87%. That's not just a lead, right? That is a monopoly. The word ChatGPT had basically replaced Google as the go-to verb people used for finding answers or writing emails. They were completely untouchable in the public consciousness. It's still kind of hard to fathom how quickly OpenAI blinded a Goliath like Google. Remember November 2022? ChatGPT became the fastest-growing consumer product in human history. They rode that insane momentum straight to their 87% market share by January 2025. But, tech monopolies are notoriously fragile, especially when a ridiculously well-funded competitor finally wakes up from its slumber. By January 2026, a massive structural shift officially kicked off, completely flipping the entire industry upside down. Now, to understand exactly how Google fought back, we have to look at a fundamental difference in their business models. OpenAI had this massive head start and incredible brand recognition, sure, but they had one key structural vulnerability. They were building a standalone product. No matter how amazing ChatGPT is, you still have to actively choose to open a new tab, unlock your phone, find the app, and click it. It takes user friction and deliberate intent. Meanwhile, Google was playing a completely different, much longer game. They were quietly building an entire interconnected ecosystem. And Google's masterstroke to utilize that massive ecosystem is a brilliant strategy called ambient AI. Basically, instead of asking you to come to their app, they just integrated artificial intelligence directly into the everyday tools you're already relying on. It works seamlessly, just humming away quietly in the background without requiring a separate app download or a new account setup. Google didn't need to convince you to download a brand new AI tool because they simply injected their intelligence right into the places where you already spend your entire digital day. Just think about the sheer scale of this for a second. Because Google already operates the underlying infrastructure for billions of users across Search, Gmail, and Android, Gemini AI overviews now effortlessly reach over 2 billion users every single month. 2 billion! When you open Gmail to draft an email, Gemini is already there waiting to help. When you search for an answer, it's already synthesizing the results at the very top of the page. You don't have to consciously opt in for it to assist you. That is an invisible, baked-in distribution advantage that OpenAI literally cannot match. The result of that ambient strategy was immediate and, frankly, pretty brutal for the incumbent. In just 12 months, ChatGPT's dominant web traffic share plummeted nearly 19 percentage points. It fell from 87% in January 2025 straight down to 64.5% by January 2026. This wasn't just a tiny blip on the radar or some seasonal fluctuation. This was a fundamental structural shift in user behavior across the entire internet. People were finding the AI they needed without having to visit a dedicated chatbot site anymore. So as OpenAI lost ground, Gemini just soaked it right up. Over that exact same 12-month period, Gemini's market share surged from a measly 5.7% up to an impressive 21.5%. That is nearly a 4-times climb in just 1 year. Google's quiet, ambient building phase was absolutely paying off. They basically leveraged their massive distribution choke points to force a competitive balance that almost nobody thought was possible just 12 months prior. This insane momentum recently pushed Gemini across a truly massive milestone. Driven by an incredible 200% year-over-year growth, Gemini hit 900 million monthly active users. That perfectly matched ChatGPT's reported numbers at the time. And yeah, as you can probably guess, this staggering parity reportedly triggered massive internal code red alerts over at OpenAI headquarters. The AI war was officially no longer a one-horse race. It had evolved into this grueling trench warfare battle for every single active user. So you might be wondering, if you're an enterprise or a developer choosing between the two today, who actually takes the crown? Well, it no longer comes down to one simply being objectively smarter than the other. It entirely depends on your specific task and workflow. ChatGPT maintains a really tight grip on coding and creative writing, while Gemini has aggressively seized the advantage in complex reasoning, video generation, ecosystem integration, and context awareness. It's very much a tool for the job scenario now. Let's look a bit closer at where ChatGPT still reigns supreme. For developers building production software and writers needing really polished prose, ChatGPT is still your weapon of choice. Their GPT 5.4 model routinely crushes Gemini on key rigorous coding benchmarks like SWE Bench. Plus, independent testers consistently rate its prose as more fluent and tonally consistent, meaning you spend way less time editing your creative writing tasks. So if you're generating complex application logic or drafting a long-form article, OpenAI is absolutely still your best bet. However, Gemini's dominance in future-facing categories is just undeniable right now. Gemini 3.1 Pro was actually the first model ever to cross the elite 1500 ELO mark on LM Arena, proving its immense raw reasoning capabilities. And with ChatGPT's Sora discontinued in early 2026, Gemini completely dominates video generation with VO3. But the real enterprise killer feature? Gemini natively handles massive 1 million token context inputs. To put that into perspective, you can literally dump entire enterprise codebases, full-length books, or years of financial records into a single prompt all at once. That capability is absolutely vital for deep enterprise-level data crunching. But let's zoom out for a second, because this story is way bigger than just two chatbots arguing over lines of code or generating video. This is a massive underlying physical cloud and infrastructure war. On one side, you have OpenAI, an incredibly powerful startup with a $2 trillion market cap, sure, but still essentially a startup that has to burn massive amounts of cash just to rent compute power. On the other side, you've got Google, a 27-year-old legacy tech giant that designs its own custom silicon chips, owns its own global cloud infrastructure, and literally owns the undersea fiber optic cables connecting the continents. The physical reality of AI gives Google a massive home field advantage. And let me tell you, that massive physical infrastructure prints money. Google Cloud's annual revenue exceeded $50 billion in 2025. And what's crucial to understand here is that more than 70% of their cloud customers are actively using Gemini. When you add in Google's massive advertising revenue, specifically fueled by these new AI integrations, it proves that Google is already making artificial intelligence highly profitable. For them, AI is already a core, revenue-generating business driver, not just some massive speculative research expense. But OpenAI is definitely not standing still in the enterprise space. They're boasting an incredible annualized revenue run rate of $25 billion as of early 2026, which means they're growing faster than almost any software company in history. Plus, their deep structural partnership with Microsoft puts ChatGPT directly inside Office 365, giving them an immense enterprise distribution network of their own to perfectly rival Google Workspace. They're heavily armed, fully funded, and deeply entrenched in corporate America for the long haul. So, what does this structural duopoly mean for you practically? Well, if your company is only using ChatGPT right now, you really need to spend 20 minutes testing Gemini this week just to feel that ambient integration. For developers, absolutely keep utilizing ChatGPT for your core code generation, but definitely keep a very close watch on Gemini's API pricing, which is increasingly undercutting the market. But the single most important takeaway of this entire shift: 81% of enterprises now run 3 or more AI models simultaneously. The era of relying on a single AI provider is totally over. You need to start building flexible workflows that route to the absolute best tool for each specific task. The single vendor strategy is officially obsolete. And right now, the real winners of this fierce competition are us, the users getting vastly better tools at significantly lower prices. But it leaves us with a massive, fascinating question for the future. If Google and OpenAI eventually match each other perfectly in raw intelligence, and AI becomes just another invisible, ambient utility running quietly in the background, what becomes the real competitive advantage for businesses of the future? Let us know if you're Team ChatGPT or Team Gemini down in the comments, and make sure you subscribe to this Explainer series as we continue to track exactly where this AI war goes next. See you in the next one.